Someone in your life is holding everything together right now, and chances are nobody is thanking them for it. Maybe it's a mother who hasn't slept a full night in months. Maybe it's a grandmother who became a parent again when she thought that chapter of her life was finished. Maybe it's a sister, a partner, an aunt, someone who stepped into the gap when the family needed someone to hold the walls up. These are the invisible caregivers. And today we're going to talk about who they are, what they carry, and why the rest of us need to start paying attention. In our last episode, we talked about the silent burden families carry when incarceration enters their lives. Today we go deeper to the people who absorb that burden and transform it quietly into daily survival. Because caregiving in the shadow of incarceration is one of the most unseen, unrecognized, and undervalued forms of labor in our society. And it's the thing more than anything else that keeps families from collapsing under the weight of stigma, financial strain, and emotional compression. So who are these invisible caregivers? Most often they're women, mothers who keep the household running while navigating a legal system that was never designed with their family in mind. Grandmothers who step back into full-time parenting in their 60s and 70s because there simply is no one else. Sisters and partners who become the primary anchor for children who are trying to make sense of why a parent is gone. And beyond the immediate family, there are the extended caregivers, aunts, cousins, older siblings, neighbors, and church members, community mentors. These are the people who quietly fill the gaps that no one else is filling. They're invisible not because they're absent. They're invisible because society has chosen not to see them. The incarcerated person is counted, documented, and recorded. The caregiver is forgotten. And what these caregivers are doing is nothing short of emotional architecture. Think about what that means in practice. They're holding a child's identity together, making sure that child still knows who they are and where they belong, even when everything around them feels uncertain. They're absorbing stigma, standing between the family and the whispers, the judgment, the quiet cruelty of communities that treat incarceration as a character verdict on everyone connected to it. They're modeling resilience for children who feel abandoned, showing up day after day as living proof that love does not require the absence of difficulty. And they're rebuilding legacy, keeping hope alive, keeping the future visible in homes where it would be very easy to stop believing in either. This architecture is built quietly, without applause, often at tremendous personal cost. And the cost is real. Financial strain arrives first and stays longest. Bills that don't pause for crisis, legal fees that accumulate faster than most families can absorb, the expense of prison visits that can feel both necessary and impossible. Then comes the health strain, the exhaustion that settles into the body when rest becomes a luxury, when stress becomes the baseline, and when burnout arrives not as a moment, but as a slow erosion. And there's a social strain that follows. Friendships that fade because the caregiver no longer has the energy to maintain them. Community support that shrinks precisely when it's needed the most. And underneath all of it, identity strain. The quiet disappearance of the self into the role, until the caregiver is no longer a full person in their own story, but simply the one holding it all together. These costs accumulate in silence. They shape the emotional geography of a caregiver's life in ways that rarely get named, rarely get measured, and almost never get addressed. And yet, within all of that weight, something remarkable happens. Wisdom emerges, not the wisdom that comes from ease, but the kind that comes from being tested and choosing to stay anyway. These caregivers learn adaptation, how to stretch resources in ways that defy what should be possible, how to create stability out of materials that were never designed for it. They develop a resilience that doesn't announce itself, that doesn't ask for recognition, that simply continues, enduring stigma without surrendering dignity, carrying the walls without putting them down. They teach children through the example of their own lives that love is not a feeling that disappears under pressure. It's a practice, a daily decision, a choice made again and again, even when choosing is hard. This is quiet valor, and it's among the most profound forms of wisdom I've encountered in this kind of work. So before we close today, I want to ask you something. Take a moment with this. Who's been the invisible caregiver in your life? Who's the person that held things together when everything around them was pulling apart? And when did you last tell them that you see what they carry, that their labor has not gone unnoticed, that their presence has mattered more than they probably know? Caregiving under incarceration is a specific experience, but the invisible caregiver is a universal one. Every family has someone who carries more than their share, more than is fair, and more than anyone fully recognizes. This episode is for them. In our next episode, we turn to the children, those growing up with a parent behind bars, navigating identity, belonging, and resilience under a very particular kind of pressure. That conversation is one I don't want you to miss. Take care. Stay connected.